Unlocking your real voice is all dependent on the balancing of an equation you've been trying to do all your life. The cliff notes are this: your self-expression, which is your voice, by the way, is axiomatically dependent on your conception of self. Nothing else is true. But on the other hand, what influences conception of self is indeed a multifactorial equation. Nevertheless, there are some big moving parts that we'll address right now. In fact, I'll talk about the biggest barrier. I'll give you it first. In realizing your real voice, the barrier contributes to at least 50% of your timidness, your anxiety, that upper airway nasal constriction and strangulated noise you make when you open your mouth. Once you release, or at least mitigate this demon, you'll notice a tangible ease in your ability to communicate and depth in bass in which you do so. And this sounds simple in theory, but executing it, it's a stubborn demon to decapitate. And here it is. You need to stop actions and habits that bring you into an emotion or thought pattern of shame and guilt. Examples of which are self-abusing activities, masturbation, drinking to excess, promiscuity, like the act of exchanging bodily fluids and DNA with another human being that you have no intention of offering exclusivity to. It's a biological hazard. That's what it is. Beyond just her DNA, by the way, that you're pulling and putting into your body. And God knows what other STDs, but every other partner she's had unprotected sex with. We rarely think about this in our youth and immaturity, but being especially libertine in your sexual exploits can be likened to self-abuse, a process of disease farming, overexposure to toxins, going back on your word, anything that is self-betrayal. When you compromise your values for self-pleasure, indulgence, degeneracy, you fracture your conception of self, and it manifests in your self-expression. Whether you're conscious of it or not, by the way. But I think if you're honest with yourself and you have a high degree of interoception, you know this. You know this in the frequency in which you speak up in social contexts, in how much you ruminate on other people's opinion of your words, where the sound of your voice is coming from, and the potency of its vibration. Shame is so powerful that you want to hide your body and existence away from the world. If you're too scared to be even seen, of course it's going to have an impact in the way that you're heard, like a tourniquet around your vocal cords. Now, the other 50% is diaphragmatic weakness, tension, and tightness. I suppose you can look at this as a practical application part, something that you need to exercise, and now covering the truth of your potential voice. This is where your voice always originates from. Where you speak, you should speak from your belly. Even lower than your belly, actually, you should be speaking from your balls, which is impacted heavily by your breathing quality. Your internal organs are a lot more fluid and flexible than you think. When your diaphragm contracts as you inhale, you push your intestines down, and it actually creates pressure around your pelvic floor. If you're breathing deep, you should feel pressure around your anus, your balls, and your perineum area. And get this, when you speak, you should feel a slight vibration and tingling sensation in that area. I probably shouldn't have done that hand movement. This is a physiological sensation that describes the feeling of being grounded. You heard of that word before, grounded. This is the feeling, and it creates the lower pitch in your voice because the sound is resonating deeper within your body. I repeat, depth in voice is dependent on depth in origin of the sound in your body. So now there are two exercises that you can do to improve this starting from today. The first has to be breathing practices. This creates better flexibility and strength in the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles, and also the transverse abdominis. This creates better mobility in the internal organs, allowing them to drop deeper within the body. And I'll plug my Patreon here, free breathing videos in the link below. But the second is humming, chanting, and resonating sound. This one is critical to finding where your true voice is coming from. Now, this exercise is going to seem a little bit strange, but bear with me. You need to be stark naked, barefoot, preferably on a hard floor, and make deep resonating sounds while bouncing the balls of your heels onto the floor. You know, you can do this every single time that you have a shower or bath until you find that sweet spot where your perineum is buzzing. It should feel like your arsehole is about to burst into song. These sounds don't necessarily need to mean anything. They need to be deep and resonating. There could be a This will allow you to better familiarize yourself with where your true voice is coming from. Detach from shame, breathe deep, resonating sounds deep within the body. No theories, facts. Speak soon.